Let's finish it.
Yeah. Ay, coming in, yeah. Flex, I just wanna win, yeah. LABB, who we running with, yeah. 2233, I'm on 10 again, yeah. State your name.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and this is a show about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. I'm sitting next to my host, who is the worst person in the world, and he is a dream killer and doesn't believe in fairy tale endings.
That is all true. I'm back. It's been a while since I've been on one of these things.
And I feel like I owe the audience an apology because it's been a couple of days for our recording sessions, and I had this mindset, all right, I'm going to record a solo episode and fill in the gaps, and then we ended up having tryouts. I'm on the calls, you're on the calls, I do design work too for the marketing side, and I tried to record. It didn't come out how I wanted it to, and I'm not going to put out crap. I'm just not going to do it. And when listening and editing, I literally edited an episode for almost 2 hours before I went to bed, and it just wasn't turning out how it was. And I said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to post it out there because it's not the message I want to deliver.
Well, that's good, Spike. I don't think people want to listen to that anyhow. They want to listen to your best.
Yes.
So.
And so obviously we are in the tryout season, so we have a very interesting perspective on a lot of things, and I think this could help both on a sports perspective, youth sports side, as well as in the future for when you are applying for a job or if you are interviewing someone for a job. We're going to take both routes on this conversation. And the biggest thing that I want to put out there right from the get-go is that you need to know, one, your perspective, but also you need to know the other person's perspective, which I think a lot of people in general don't think about that when they start having conversations, aka negotiations, that type of stuff. They only see one side of the table.
Well, yeah, having a feel for someone else's perspective is really hard. That is something I don't care what avenue you want to take that conversation to. That is lacking severely in this world right now. Again, you can talk about current events, you can talk about baseball, you can talk about trial, whatever. Having a feel for somebody else's perspective and where they're coming from it's a lost art, I feel like. Do you feel that way?
I do, and that's the first thing that I do for when we start talking with players, and it starts all the way at the tryout process. So literally, when you get a bib number, I'm already trying to put myself into your shoes, and I've already been in your shoes.
Yep.
Now, when we start having conversations of returning players and conversations with new players that we want to bring into the program, I try to put myself into the parent and the player's perspective and what they're thinking about, and really trying to make sure that I'm giving them the best sound advice, whether that is with us as an organization, you putting on the Tiger uniform, the orange and black, rah, or you putting on another uniform and trying to help you along with that process.
Well, let's just think about it. You get caught up in stuff. You get caught up in your own life, in your own worries, in your own concerns, in your own likes, dislikes, etc. And everything. I always talk about it this way. Here's a good phrase. Whenever a parent is watching a game, they're worried about their Jimmy, right? I got to worry as a coach about all the Jimmies. And then as a club director, I got even more Jimmies to worry about. And sometimes when we make decisions, we make those decisions with the intent to help all, right? And create and keep this, going forward. And it's not just solely focused on one, because I see the parents' perspective. The parents they're doing right by their son, okay? From the meaning of they are coming from a place of caring. Okay? All of the parents that we work with on a yearly basis, they're awesome. But they're great parents. They are solely concerned about making sure that they take care of their son and set them up for a future. And that's really great. That's great of them, right? I think having a little bit of a perspective on understanding why we make certain decisions or why we do other things is important too, though.
with my recruiting process, and I used this for when I was trying to get into the economics program at Missouri State. I used this when I was trying to get recruited, obviously for college, but also for my employment. Everything unlocked for me when I put myself in that person's shoes who was looking at me. Mm-hmm. That's when everything unlocked. Everything made sense. And the path was clear of what I had to do. And it could have been, I need to dress a little bit better when I go into a meeting. I shared that solo episode with me and Coach Gutton where I was wearing Birkenstock shoes going into the meeting. What the hell was I thinking? I was only thinking of myself. I only thought what looked cool to me, not what looked cool to him, what would impress him, right? So for even on the employment side, it made a lot of sense when Aaron asked me, hey, I really would love for you to be an instructor at Balls and Strikes. And I said, okay, that's not something that I really want to potentially do for the rest of my life. But then I saw that, okay, what does he need? What does he need in the business that's going to accelerate the business even further? Mm-hmm. And everything was perfectly clear. He needs someone to help with marketing. He needs someone to help with design work. He spends a lot of money on the design work throughout the year, and he's not getting the punch that he should be getting. Does he have a video presence? He doesn't have a video presence. I can insert myself there. So everything just is a lot clearer when you start seeing it from that perspective. So if I'm a player and I look at a club baseball team and I want to be a part of that club baseball team, and I say, hey, what is the roster size? Okay, roster size is this. All right. What positions do they have? Okay, this. What other players are trying out? Okay, got it. Where do I line up with those players? Now, if the club misses on you, the club misses on you. That's the same thing with college. What's the roster size? How big is the roster size? What's the coaching staff like? What's the facilities like? What are they trying to look for? What are their goals? What are their aspirations? And how do I fit in that play? And then it's such a clear path that way instead of the other way, which is, well, I want this. I want that.
Yeah, I can do this, and I can do that.
I can do this. I can do that. Well, I don't really need that. Yeah, but I can do this.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Don't care. Yeah, don't care.
Does not make one difference.
Yes. I smile really well.
Good.
Great.
Good for you.
Awesome. I need
Probably help you somewhere else.
Yep.
Not here.
Well, we already have a front desk person that smiles really well.
That's great.
Are you better than them at smiling? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's what, when going through the tryout process and going through obviously hiring interns and hiring everybody, that's what I'm thinking about is I'm going on both ends of the spectrum. What does that person want? That's the first thing that I'm thinking about. When we had intern Todd and Trey come in, the first thing I was thinking about, what is their end game? What do they want to learn? What is it that they want to do? And I don't even know if they've even thought from the other end of this other end of the spectrum what I was wanting, but I tried to figure out them to give them the most benefit because at the end of the day, I want more interns moving forward, and they're probably going to give a good word and talk to their.
It all comes back around. It's a circle.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It all comes back to it, and I think it's a tough thing for most young people to understand. I don't think young people have perspective for other people. They don't think that way. I think it's tough for all people, but you're 100% right in terms of how much clearer that picture gets when you start to change your thinking to that manner, and trying to understand where other people are coming from and why they're making certain decisions and why they're doing this and what they want to do in the future. And I think people would be honestly surprised at the conversations they'd have and the information they'd get if they just asked.
They take it too personally.
Yeah.
And it's not personal. It's not that we don't like you. Every player that has come into the organization or I've seen at a tryout, as a person, just talking to them for like 5 minutes, I like them. They're great people. Mm-hmm. But it might not be the best fit for you. And don't get mad about it. Just understand. And that's hard. That is very hard. Because when
emotions.
Yeah. Well, when you have a breakup.
Yeah. You get emotionally invested.
And then when someone breaks up, breakups are tough.
Yeah. You kind of you go through that cycle of, now I hate this person, then I dislike them a little bit more, then over time I dislike them a little bit less, and then all of a sudden I'm kind of cool with them and whatever. You know what I'm saying? But right there in that's why that 24-hour rule exists. That's why everything exists, right? And it's emotional. And emotional decisions, generally speaking, are not good ones.
And I can sit with those conversations. It's tough for me to be in those, but I can sit with it. As long as at the end of the day, when I have that tough conversation, the thing that I'm thinking about most is you are going to respect me at the end of this. That's the whole goal.
Well, it's always it's helped me because I think when I was younger, I was not very good at that, of having those conversations. They're tough, right? And what's helped me was I have to be honest. I have to be very truthful. And from my perspective, if I've given you every piece of information I have as to why a certain decision was made or whatnot, and I am honestly trying to help you out in that situation one way or the other, then I've done my job. Mm-hmm. You might not like it. You might not like me. But I hope, like you said, you would respect that. Mm-hmm. Because I think there are a lot of people out there that will not give you that information. They won't tell you.
Oh, they'll hide it.
They'll make excuses. They'll blame other people. They'll blame other situations because it's not their fault. I'd rather sit there right in front of you. Me and you have sat together in a lot of meetings over the past few, 10 years, and literally we have to be truthful there. We have to. If we're not, and we start blaming it, more problems come from that than anything else. Rather than literally bucking up and being truthful and honest about it.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think some people are trying to do the "I got you" moment, where they start having this conversation, they start asking more questions, and they're waiting for that. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get that "I got you" moment. But there is no "I got you" moment because all I'm trying to do is be as honest as I possibly can, and that's all you could ask for. If you have a hard question in the paint about our organization, go for it. If you have a hard question about employment, you should ask that question.
You should.
If they dodge that question and they kind of dance around it, that's when you know, hey, this is not a really good situation. I need to leave.
There's a reason. There's a reason they do that.
Yes.
Well, and what makes it even tougher for this time of the year is the turnaround. Is that we literally go through with our careers and our jobs, we go through an 8-week season. And it goes from the end of May through the middle part of July. And right at the end, even as we're still playing and coaching, we're going through the tryout process. And we're resetting for next year. And so does everybody else in our area. And immediately you go from, and this is me thinking of it from their perspective, and this is tough, but you go from having been with all these families that you've now become friends with. Your sons have become friends with the players. And, you're 1 minute on a Sunday, you guys are cheering for a championship, and on Monday, you're getting a call, and you might be on a different team. And that is tough. I wholeheartedly understand that. That is a very tough thing. I don't think many people are equipped from an emotional standpoint to not get attached in that manner. A lot of people would be like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah.
No. My son just hit a double yesterday. He just went out with those guys last night. They're all friends. And now you're telling me what? And so because of this tough timing, listen, decisions have to be made, okay? And situations occur. But it's not, I think people don't understand that we do take that into context. We understand. And we don't sit behind, in a meeting room with all these names and just throw them at a dartboard. We try to take every piece of information that we can gather from our coaches, from our tryout, from the season, from everything. I like to say as much information as you can to make the best educated decision going forward. And there's a lot of things that go into that.
That's the only thing you can't ask out of an organization, no matter if that's a company or a club or just an individual team, that everything needs to be in play and needs to be considered. And breakups are tough. They're really tough to handle. I'm still thinking about when I was on a club team and the coach said that I couldn't play college baseball.
Yep.
That's a breakup right there, right?
Yep.
But you have to put it in context that, okay, what's the best route for me, and how do I move myself in the right direction? And I've said this before to a number of people that are close to me. I said, if I get fired from the Rawlings Tigers, it's not the end all. I'm not gonna hold a grudge to Aaron or anybody else. Not saying I'm getting fired, but I'm just saying, like, if something happened,
did you do something that I don't know about?
If something happened, I wouldn't hold it personal because I know how it is. The business is a living and breathing organism.
Right.
It is an entity all in itself. And if my services aren't needed anymore, I have to build my skill sets, be the one in control. I have to keep building my skill sets so that I'm able to make another route. I can make another move. And I think pro baseball taught me that.
Well, and I find to have a lot of respect for the people who handle it this way in this process, whether it's good news, bad news, whatever you get this year, because this is how we tend to handle it. They can only go with what information is given to them, and then they can only control themselves, right? And I have a ton of respect if, one way or the other, that the people who I have conversations with, if they're literally sitting on the other line, they're like, okay, great. They ask all their questions. They're like, okay, can we have some time? We're going to think about it. We're going to talk. We're going to talk with the family, and then we'll get back to you with one way or the other. Is that okay? And they literally just take the information and make the best decision for them. That is how it should be handled.
Yeah.
Right? Because if it goes the other route and it's yelling this or blaming someone else or deflecting, that's not going to
giving you a bunch of red herrings. Do you know what red herrings are? Red herrings is giving you something off to the side of the main conversation, and then you go over to that side of the conversation, and you forget totally what the main context of the original combo was. That's what happens. It's a lot of gray areas.
Right.
Like, well, what about he did this over here? Yes, but and then you try to get back onto the conversation.
Well, and I'll give it to you. I mean, how do we handle that? So let's say on the opposite side, we have a player, or we offer a player something like that we really want in the organization. We think can do great things, can help us, help himself, etc. And we get turned down. That bothers. I mean, I don't want to say it doesn't bother me, but I got to flip my script in about 5 seconds. Because if I sit and dwell on that and say, well, woe is me, why did this not happen?
Yeah.
Or, I think you can always reflect back and try to understand, well, what could we have done better?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an important thing to think of from a business standpoint and what you're putting out there. But if I sat there and dwelled on that and basically said, well, that guy's an idiot, or that guy is stupid, or wow, they just made the wrong decision. If I'm still saying that in 3 months, I haven't gained anywhere. I haven't gotten anywhere. So from that perspective, we have to flip. We have to change. We have to pivot. We have to move in a different direction. We have to do that very fast. And it can't be an emotional attachment forever.
Well, that's what you've noticed out of really good college recruiters in my recruiting process. Whenever I got a feedback from a coach, like when I made the decision, I kept it very black and white. When I made the decision to end up going to Missouri State, there were college coaches that said, you know what, best of luck. I think that's a really good spot for you. Please let me know if you need anything on my end, and I'll help out as much as I possibly can. By the way, what are you doing for summer baseball? Then I had other coaches be like, are you kidding me? You literally went that way? Unbelievable. How could you do that? It was a total, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't go with that guy.
You know what's funny? Take those two situations because it's applicable to what we do. What I don't think those coaches who respond in that negative way of like bashing you and bashing your decision understand is that you are connected to like 400 other athletes that maybe one of those could be a fit for that school. Yeah. And what are you going to now go do? You're going to go be like, dude, you don't want to play for that dude.
Yeah.
Heck no, see you later. And all of a sudden then that guy goes, well, hey, I heard from my friend that this dude's he's a jerk. He totally aired my friend out on the phone for making a different decision. And then that guy tells another friend, and all of a sudden you've got 1,000 people that aren't a fan of you. And it's all because of one reaction and one emotional, conversation. And that can be the same way. We all talk. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We all talk. And from a player standpoint or a parent standpoint, I'll just here's a useful piece of advice. It doesn't take long for people to start to understand who the people are that make those emotional decisions and tend to just flip the script every year and go to a different uniform.
And a lot of people don't even realize that the clubs are so well connected. We know everybody.
We know everyone. We know everyone. And
so
we
like,
don't go.
So even
well, listen. We don't go out of our way to bash anyone. I've never once.
No.
I've never once gone home and started calling club directors and be like, "You need to stay away from this kid." I've never ever done that.
No.
I never will do that. That's not my place. And I'm not that type of a spiteful person.
But my point is this, though, is that everyone is connected, And when you give that emotional response, it's not like it's going to blackball you or put you in a bad light, or you're not going to get to the spot that you want to get in. But understand that the respect factor is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like what could happen if it's on the positive side where like, man, you are so lucky to have that kid. That's the conversations you want. I'm not going on the negative side because everyone's going to think about the negative side like,
Right.
oh, they're going to bash this kid. No, clubs don't do that, by the way. But when there is a good kid inside club baseball, there's so much positivity around that person
Right.
that they're like, man, you got a really good player. Like, I hope that guy makes it. Like, he's
he's one of my favorites.
You need to take care of
Yeah,
him.
he's a dude.
Yeah. That's barring with talent and with talent that's not quite there yet.
Right.
So guys that are still working. So that's the best part is when I have another club director be like, dude, you have that kid? That's pretty good.
Yep.
I've done the same thing to other club directors.
100%.
And college coaches do that too.
They do it all the same.
Yep.
And the college coaches, I've heard this a million times. I heard it a ton too throughout this whole pandemic when they couldn't get out. They had to use their resources, if you will, and their connections. But they are always like, "Hey, listen, he might be a little short for us. Okay, he might just on that spectrum of talent. What we're looking for, he's just below that. However, my friend runs this program." And I know what he's looking for, and that dude is a perfect fit. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to call him, and I'm going to help him out, and he's going to be calling you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you handle it the right way, I think those doors continue to open for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you handle it the wrong way, be very careful because those doors will slam shut super fast.
Yeah. And handling it the right way, I want to make sure that we're clear on this. A good way of handling it is getting the information, talking it over. And this goes for employment too, so I don't want to get confused.
Yep.
This is life lessons as well. So you get the information, you have conversations, you gather more information, and then you make a decision. Not this. I get the information, I have an emotional response, I talk it over with my group of my close inner circle, then I have conversations again with the person that's going to either employ me or accept me, argue with them again, drag it out more, and then finally make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime that you have an emotional response or you drag out a decision, it's never a good situation, in my opinion. It's not the best situation. You want to make a decision, and it's tough because there's a lot of options out there. This is where a lot of self-reflection comes into play, and this is where it comes in where you're always trying to build up who you are, then make the decision, and then live with that decision. And say, hey, and how you deal with rejection, where you reject another employer. So you have 3 people that are trying to employ you. Go up to company A or club A or college A and say, hey, I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. But I end up deciding to go in a different direction. Best of luck. Thank you again. That's it. And then go to the other ones until you get to the person that you accept to.
Well, and listen, I can count on my hand a few times where that situation's happened. You know, maybe they haven't come to us, and how we've handled has been well, and we've been like, well, listen, best of luck. I appreciate you letting me know on the decision, and that's not a fake response. That is a real response.
It is.
I appreciate you letting me know. That's very valuable to me. Best of luck in the future. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. I mean, I just had that with a call 20 minutes ago, and you know, it's come around in the next year or two. They come back, and there's no bad blood there, and we're like, okay, perfect. Now's the fit. Now the time. Awesome. Yeah, it's a great fit for us. Let's do it. Mm-hmm. And that's how it should be.
That's the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah. Keep emotions outside of that decision.
Black and white, never gray.
Yep.
What's your closing pitch on this?
All right. My closing pitch would be pretty simple. You said it best at the start, and this is something that I think we can all get better at. It's a constant fight, a constant struggle. Try to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Try to understand what their perspective is, why they're making the decision, what they're making the decision for, what's going on in their head, and if you can start to get that information, it makes your answer so much easier.
My closing pitch is always build your skills to where you are in control, and always gather information where you can make the right decision, and always think 3 to 4 steps ahead. Where a lot wherever I've gotten in trouble is when I'm playing checkers rather than chess, where I'm taking one move at a time, and I end up getting blindsided and losing.
And you're about 10 steps behind at all times.
Yes, and I'm 10 steps behind. So think about life and what you want to do with life as chess rather than checkers.
Totally agree.
All right, guys, that is this episode of The Closing Pitch. A little bit of a shorter episode. We appreciate you guys listening in. Please subscribe to the podcast on Apple iTunes. Follow it on Spotify. If you have Anchor, we use that to distribute our podcast. So please use that if you'd like to submit your own closing pitch. Until next time, we'll see you.
See you guys.
Thank you for watching or listening or both to The Closing Pitch. If you would like to get your closing pitch featured on the show, we use a podcasting app called Anchor, where you can submit your statement or question via audio. Or what you can do is comment in the comment section of this post. We also accept direct messages. Please give us the A-OK if you do send us a DM to use your statement or question on the show. Last thing, please give us a review on your platform of choice. 5-star preferably, and we value your opinion, and this allows us to reach more people. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.